Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lara and for 2 years I have been on a makeup no-buy. Now I know today's video is an eyeshadow collection video, but I always start off my videos by saying that because my no-buy has sort of affected everything having to do with makeup in my life. So the way I see makeup, the way that I consume makeup content on YouTube, and even what my collection looks like now. What I mean is, because I've been on a makeup no-buy for 2 years, I've taken those 2 years to really dive into my collection, really look at what I want, to try to pare it down. I've been doing a lot of decluttering, a lot of reorganizing, and I think that my eyeshadow collection is pretty curated. I say that because I think I have decluttered about half of my eyeshadows from the past 2 years. So the amount of eyeshadow palettes that you see today, it was double that about a year ago. So without this makeup no-buy, my makeup collection would literally look so different, and I am so thankful that I've been on this journey. Now, of course, you may have noticed in the title that today's video is a collab with Sally, who is one of my favorite people to watch on YouTube because I feel like I watch a lot of makeup content, but I don't watch a lot of the kind of videos that she makes. She does a ton of videos that are just like super soothing and relaxing to watch. Like, she will repot, like move around all of her eyeshadows within a palette to put them in an order that is like more pleasing to the eye. And I find this so enjoyable to watch. Like, sometimes I'll be working on my laptop and just like in a corner on the side, I'll just have one of her videos going, hearing her voice is soothing, and just like seeing the eyeshadows be moved around. Something about makeup is like so calming to me. If you're not super into makeup, you might not get it, but yeah. So those are definitely my favorite videos of her, but she does a ton of makeup content. She has done some beautiful eyeshadow looks, so I really encourage you to check out her channel. I will link her here. And thank you, Sally, for reaching out to me. This is super exciting. I don't know that I've ever done a collab before, and we've sort of been commenting on each other's videos for a while now, so I was very honored when you reached out to me. So go check out her video. She will also be doing a video about her eyeshadow collection. Now, I will warn you, she is far more experienced with makeup, and I don't even know how many palettes she has, but I'm gonna guess she has like 3 times the number that I do. I think that her collection is quite a bit bigger than mine is, so if you're coming from her channel, hello. My collection is much smaller than hers is, but I've tried to curate sort of a minimalist collection. I'm gonna stop yammering on and I will show you my collection. I do want to mention my preferences in terms of makeup. I prefer warm tones. I'm okay with neutral tones, but cool tones, when there's a palette and there's a couple cool tones in it, I will not reach for those cool tones at all. Like, I will only gravitate towards the warm tones, and I wish I knew this years ago because I decluttered a lot of palettes this year that I discovered were predominantly cool toned, and so of course I never reached for them. But now my collection is like very warm toned, and I like it that way. In the next year or so, I will be in the market to buy some more eyeshadow palettes because I think that there are some spots missing from my collection. So if you know of any good warm tone palettes, preferably with like oranges, reds, pinks, let me know. I will be in the market. So I just want to mention that. Second, I prefer mattes to shimmers. I love a good shimmer in the corner or, you know, a bit over the lid, but mattes are what I go for on a daily basis. You will also see that reflected in my collection. I think that's all I wanted to say, so let's just hop into it. Hello, so welcome. This is my palette collection. Is it smaller than you expected, bigger than you expected? As I mentioned, this is quite a bit smaller than it was before I started doing my no-buy. I actually should have counted, but I think I probably decluttered about half of my palettes this year, and this is what remains. So I think the way that I'm going to do this is discuss the palettes that I have used the most to the palettes that I use the least. So my single favorite palette in my collection is this Naked Heat palette. I have had this for about 2 years now, but it still feels like a new palette to me. I think because I have been on a makeup no-buy for 2 years now, it just feels like I haven't had this very long because I haven't actually allowed myself to use it very much because, you know, I've been project panning and all of that. I actually have never used the brush in here because I do have another one of these Urban Decay Naked palette brushes in my original Naked palette, but yeah, every time I look at this, it's my absolute favorite colors. Some favorites are this one here, Scorched, although it is quite similar to L'Ombre. This is a bit more peachy, I'd say. And then He Devil, Cayenne, and En Fuego. I love those so much. I've created my favorite looks with this palette and I love it so much. I will definitely let myself get some more use out of it next year because I really have not gotten enough use out of it, considering it is my favorite palette in my collection. My favorite look I've ever done was actually in this past summer with this palette. I will link the video that I did here. Okay, my next favorite palette has got to be the Yes Please palette. This is actually a recent one. Well, recent for me. I purchased this in the summer, so I haven't actually got that much use out of it because it was during my no-buy. I love that spoiled color right there. I love Giano. You can see which colors I've actually gotten use out of. Louis, I love that one, and also Chauffeur, I love that. This yellow one, I'm really trying to get some use out of because it is difficult for yellow to show up on my lids, but I love it. I love this whole palette. It is right up my alley with all these warm tones and orange tones. Orangey Glad. Okay, confession, I still haven't used this. I purchased this palette in July from ColourPop. You can see it's perfectly new. It looks like it's never been touched because it hasn't. It still has this in there. I wanted this palette because I wanted an 100% orange / peachy palette. I mean, look at how pretty that is. I've seen so many people create such beautiful colors with this palette, so I think during the next couple weeks I'm going to play around with this a little bit. I know it's more of like a summery spring palette, but I don't really care what time of year it is. I will wear the colors I want to whenever. So I love these shades. This is actually an entirely shimmery palette. This used to be my #1 favorite palette, even though it is a mini. This is just a quad palette. These are really, really high quality shadows. Just beautiful. There also used to be a cream color in here, which was like my perfect inner corner highlight. I actually smashed it, like it fell down one day and it broke, so I forced myself to do a project pan on it. At the time, I didn't know about repotting or repressing. So this is my next most used palette. You can really see those dips there, the bottom. This one I might actually try to pan because I love this year round. This is great for spring. These colors are great for fall. I just feel like it's a really good year-round color story. So love this palette. I don't use it as much as I used to, but this was definitely one of my favorites. This has gotten a lot of love. Can you see that? Okay, the next one, I got this in England, I believe. It's from the Collection brand. I actually don't really know what that is, but I really like this palette. The only thing is that it sort of goes from lightest to darkest, but these colors don't show up super well, so you really have to like rub your finger in them in order to make them show up. See, on my skin tone it doesn't really show up, so I wish that these were a bit more pigmented, but I do love this palette for sort of an everyday look. That color is great in my crease. That's great all over the lid. That's great all over the lid. So yeah, this is just a great all over palette for me, but not very pigmented. I believe that this is a drugstore brand in England. So those are all the ones that it's easy for me to reach for, that I love using. The rest of them are ones that I have to consciously put into my makeup bag in order to use them. Let me just actually rearrange it that way. I guess it's divided pretty evenly. These 5 I love, these 4 are a bit more difficult. Naked. Now this used to be one of my favorites. Isn't my oldest palette? Actually this one and the e.l.f. one. These are my 2 oldest palettes. It's probably time to get rid of this palette. I may decide to declutter it in the next couple months. I'm planning to put this in my makeup bag and just try it out, see how it works, because I haven't really reached for it in a long time. But back in undergrad, I used to wear this going out like every time I went out. This was my go-to palette. I just love the shimmers so much. I feel like it's not showing up super pigmented on here, but I mean, you know the Naked palette, everyone knows this palette. Now, this isn't exactly my cup of tea. I prefer warmer tones. Well, this doesn't really have any oranges, pinks, reds, which are my preferred tones now. Back then, I didn't really know what I liked. I liked browns and purples, so that's why this suited me so well. I found that those were the easiest colors to make work on me, but now I haven't reached for this in a long time, and I should, because I used to love this palette. Just a bit too shimmery for my liking. I think that that's why, another one of the reasons why Naked Heat is so much better for me than the original Naked palette, because there's so many more mattes in this. Like, I only count 3, 4 shimmers in this, whereas this one I only count like 4 mattes, 3 mattes really. Yeah, my preferences have definitely changed. Okay, and then I would say this one is my next favorite. This one is actually in my current makeup bag. Look at that. So I dropped this at some point and it did something really weird to those 2 pans. I don't know if you can tell, but that was kind of unfortunate. When that happened, I just stopped reaching for this entirely. For some reason, it made me like not want to use it anymore. But nice matte color there. This works in the crease or on my upper lash line. This color actually doesn't work for me at all, so I don't really use that color. That's kind of unfortunate. This is just like a very nice base level color, so I put that in my crease sometimes, although it is quite light. I'm worried that these aren't showing up quite as pigmented as they show up in person. And then this one, very, very light. This is just a nice shimmer for all over the lid. So I'm getting some use out of this in December right now. This is in my makeup bag, but before that I hadn't really reached for it in a long time. I think it's just too neutral for me. I don't reach for brown so much anymore. Back when I got this, I used browns all the time, and now I don't really do like only brown looks on my eye. Back then that's what I used to do. This e.l.f. palette, so I think this is actually the palette that I've had the longest, and interestingly I didn't used to get any use out of this. Like for the first couple years that I had it, I really didn't reach for it because I bought this one and another e.l.f. palette which was more of like a brown and purple palette, and I love that palette so much, so that sort of overshadowed this and I didn't really reach for it. But I actually decluttered that other palette this year because browns and purples, I don't wear those anymore, but pinks, I actually wear pinks a lot more now. So I got some use out of this earlier in the year. I want to say like spring, early summer, when I was just trying to decide if I should declutter this one as well. And I really like the pinks, like that coral color right there, super nice. That bronze shade, all of these are just quite nice pinks. I was pretty impressed with them. I have sort of like a hard pan, but I was pretty impressed to come back to this palette because it seems quite good quality. So, you know, I might decide to declutter this at some point in the future, but just to have like a pink palette I think is handy to have in my collection. Though this is so old that, you know, I really should declutter it, but I want to get some more use out of this because for so many years I didn't. And then the last palette, this is the only one that was a present, I believe, so I didn't pick it out myself. And you know what tends to happen with that, somebody chooses your makeup for you and you're like, well, this is not what I wanted. I think that I had asked for this, but then I was given it as a present quite a while after I had asked, and so by that point I didn't love purples anymore. I don't fully remember. I really do try to get use out of this, but the purples, just looking at it and seeing those purples turns me off somehow. Like that purple shade, I used to love that kind of shade, and now I just really don't love it anymore. And the quality is fine, it's not great. I'll show you the shimmers. See how like silvery that is? It's very cool, and you know, just not super pigmented, and those cool tones, I don't love that cool color. I just can't figure out how to make cool tones work on me. There we go, that's a bit better. See that one color there I quite like, but those two, not great. And then those two I just kind of avoid. Like I really avoid all purples. That one is a bit too light for my crease. But I still want to get use out of this, so I haven't decluttered it yet. I feel like it still looks like brand new, so I feel bad decluttering things when I haven't gotten enough use out of them. That is my palette collection. If you are someone who loves makeup collection videos, I also did a blush collection video, so you can click here to watch that. That is a little less curated. There was a ton of blushes in that video where I was like, I'm gonna declutter this soon. I'm gonna declutter this soon. But my eyeshadow collection, I feel like I've really taken time over the past couple of years to get rid of eyeshadow palettes that I finished. And if you're interested in what palettes I decluttered, you can check out my previous decluttering videos because it's all in there. I show you exactly what I'm getting rid of. Okay. That was my eyeshadow collection. Here they are. I think it is quite a curated collection. There are 9 palettes here. Now, as I mentioned, 5 of them I love, I reach for all the time, and then the other 4, they take a bit more work. So a couple of these you can see are minis, a couple of them are full size. I'm definitely excited to get some use, oh my goodness, out of the Orangey Glad palette in the next couple months. I'm really looking forward to trying this out. And then also the Naked, the original Naked palette. I haven't reached for it in ages, and I'm excited to give it a try again. So that was it for this video. Thank you so much for checking it out. Again, don't forget to check out Sally's video. I personally can't wait to see her eyeshadow collection because her eyeshadow videos are, as I said, my favorites. Go check her out. She does amazing looks on Instagram too. I think that's it. Don't forget to subscribe, like my video, and let me know if you thought that this was fewer eyeshadows or more eyeshadows than you were expecting from me. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Testing, testing. Nice.